Hello, I'm Dr. Karen Becker, and today we're going to talk about table food and pets. Not feeding your pets from the table, but actually human edible foods that you can offer to your dogs and cats. Now, before we get started on the details of that, I want you to recognize that I want you to throw away the concept for 5 minutes of cat food and dog food. I want you to think about food in general. Food that comes from seeds that's planted in the ground, grows, and we harvest it. Or we harvest those foods and then we feed them to animals and then we harvest the animals. I want you to think for a minute about how we classify cat food and dog food, when really the truth is we just blend certain foodstuffs together to create certain animal feeds. So rabbit food, for instance, is a blend of certain grasses that are biologically appropriate for rabbits. Horse chow or horse pellets, biologically blended for horses. Dog chow and cat chow, in theory, should be biologically blended for dogs and cats. And it's not that that's a bad concept if in fact the foods that you're offering are biologically appropriate. But something that I do want you to think about is this. Dog and cat chow, of course, can be 100% nutritionally complete and fine and safe and approved for all life stages of dogs and cats, but it's not much different than me telling you as a human nutritionist that you should feed your kids kid chow. Actually, it's not much different than this whole line of new drinkable, 100% nutritionally balanced meal replacement shakes. If I told you, as a mother, that you should feed your children a shake 3 times a day for the rest of your kid's life, it's everything they need, it's biologically appropriate, it's balanced, it contains fatty acids, trace minerals, nutrients, it's everything they need. Just feed your kid a shake for the rest of his life. That's all they need. Don't feed your child anything besides the shake. I would hope that you would run screaming from the room and not take my advice. And yet, as a veterinarian, it's really scary to me that if I tell you that you can feed a little brown crunchy ball for the rest of your pet's life, never feed them anything else, they don't need anything else, you actually may consider taking my advice. There's a paradigm problem there. What's more scary is that certified veterinary nutritionists actually have made recommendations to dog and cat owners stating that if you feed anything to your dog and cat that is not coming from a bag or can, it can actually be hazardous to your pet's health. Now, that's extra confusing and I guess really, in my opinion, sad, because what we've done is out of fear, we've created a whole generation of pet owners that are afraid to feed anything but an overprocessed, inorganic, dry or canned food, nothing living. Now keep in mind that there's no problem feeding processed foods. You may eat some processed foods, I eat some processed foods, but making an entire lifestyle up of processed foods, there's no way that you can create abundant health in an animal that you want to thrive when you are providing the raw materials for survival only. That's common sense. Now, you might ask, how did veterinary nutrition perspectives get so skewed? It's important to recognize that major dog and cat food manufacturers are providing much of the veterinary nutrition to veterinary students in vet school. And when I graduated from vet school, there were phrases in my mind like it's a food for life and never switch your dog's food that I can remember that isn't necessarily great nutritional advice, but that came out of slogans from major dog food and cat food companies that kept clients thinking that it was somehow wrong to, number one, consider switching foods, and number two, dare put anything in their dog or cat's mouth that could be living. So I'm here to dispel some of those myths. What I do want you to recognize is that dog and cat foods have dog and cats have a living food requirement just like you have a living food requirement. Our U.S. government, which I believe could be a slightly frightening source of nutritional information, recommends that humans eat 5 servings of living foods a day. Veterinarians tell you to never offer living foods to your dogs and cats, and that just makes me sad because we know that dogs and cats have a living food requirement for them to optimally thrive. A better statement would be from the veterinary research. We don't know exactly how many living servings of foods you should offer your dogs and cats a day, but we know that they need some on a consistent basis to achieve optimal health. That should be common sense as well. It isn't, but we're getting there. So in essence, what I want you to think about is that there are some foods that are quite appropriate for dogs and cats, and there are some foods that aren't. Foods that are not appropriate for dogs and cats include grapes, raisins, and onions. Those foods should never be fed to dogs and cats because they can't metabolize them well. But there are some human foods that are actually USDA inspected that would be excellent for you to begin including in your pet's diet. Remember that on many, many occasions, this is the first opportunity that your dog or cat has to actually consume human-grade ingredients. Most cat and dog foods on the market are rendered, which means not approved for human consumption. Not only are they dead, inorganic, and overprocessed, but they are created from diseased tissues. So actually actually offering your pet some of your foods, probably the healthiest foods they've ever consumed in their lives. Second thing I want you to think about is that you can offer these foods not as a meal replacement, but as treats. So in my house, we do a lot of frozen peas that are thawed, or fresh peas. We do sugar snap peas. We do frozen blueberries, and in the summer, raw blueberries. Berries are one of the best things you can offer. Keep in mind, for kitties, you can offer them slices of zucchini, you can offer them some meat. Training treats for dogs and cats can include raw almonds and raw walnuts. You offering small amounts of unadulterated living foods gives both your dogs and cats the opportunity to experience some living foods in their diet. If you don't offer living foods to your cats, they'll eat your houseplants because it's the only living food you have available. So give them a better opportunity by offering them a salad before you put dressing on. Dark green leafy veggies, endive, escarole, romaine, all excellent for your cats, and gives them the opportunity to experience raw, unadulterated foods on a consistent basis. You can offer many of the same foods to your dogs as you're eating, but of course eliminate the carbohydrates. Nothing with corn, wheat, or rice. I hope that I've given you a little bit of insight into you being able to feel a little bit more confident offering treats to your dogs and cats that are unadulterated. After all, they deserve this. They deserve the exact same benefit of living foods that you get. And there's no better way to do it than to begin now with small amounts of living foods off your table. Not from the table, but human edible treats that you would be able to share with your dog or cat in their bowl.